witty quips, so I'll just start with welcome back, Alchemists. This is the Alchemist Station podcast with myself, Walter Morello, and the great Michael Shine and Mitch Jorsky. Today we got a special guest, Mashi Epting, joining us from the tax world, from the other side of the equation. But before we get started, remember the point is not to work, it's to generate income. But how much income, Mike?
Oh, massive income from passive income.
I love when you say that. And how do we do it, Mitch?
Organize and collect.
We organize and collect. And what happens to us after we've done that? The tax man tries to get their piece. Mashi Epting, welcome. How did you and I originally meet? And by the way, thank you for coming on the podcast today for us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
How did you and I originally meet? Do you remember that first conversation?
Yes, we met through a mutual partner by the name of Jill. And I know Jill through a mutual partner who is my billionaire mentor who handles and other high net worth individuals who help us find tax savings. And because Jill has done cost segregation studies on my properties, that's over a million, right? Over millions. And she was like, kept on saying, you need to meet Walter. You need to meet Walter. They are so, like, she just, described y'all as the most intelligent people in the world. And I need to meet these people too. So finally, two great people get to meet each other. And you immediately start teaching me stuff. I'm like, what? You can do this? Like, wait, this is a lie. I need another meeting.
So it was,
and that's it.
It was fate. It was crazy because Jill said, dude, this is a entrepreneur. She's a hustler. She's got her hands on absolutely everything. And I said, okay, let's jump on a call. And she said, she's like, look, like she's hard to get a hold of. This girl is everywhere. She's traveling here. She's traveling there. She's really, really hard to get a hold of. She's like, if I can get you 15 minutes, it's probably all I can get you. I was like, all right, like 15 minutes. You know me, I talk quick. We'll get to the bottom of it. And as we spoke, you were coaching, you were building funnels, you were teaching tax, you were doing tax, you were investing in real estate, you had other brands and other ideas and other instruments you wanted to do. You owned commercial property, you owned residential property, you owned land. And in that 15 minutes, I was like, yeah, this is a rare instance where a second call is actually required because there's just so much going on. And we've jumped into quite a bit. Some of the things that I've noticed about you, Mashi, is you have a hustle beyond the normal person's hustle. But you've also brought in staff where most people resist staff. Mike is not one of those people. Mike's like, who can I hire? Like, who, not how. Very much along that philosophy. How did you get into the tax world? And then how did you realize you couldn't do it alone? It made sense to have other people inside your business.
Well, actually, I realized I couldn't do it alone when I realized what I was doing wasn't enough. So I was like, gosh, like, even if I can, get all the people to want to come and, hey, just help me as basically their service provider, their mentor, their go-to person, there's no way I can touch everybody. There's not enough time in the day. And I realized then what I need to do is I need to find other people who remind me of me, other people who I can pour into, and in return, they can pour into other people, right? So I stopped trying to service the masses, and I said I need to service the leaders. Because that is what I need to do. Because and after you find it, because I was like, I'm not for everybody, but I am for some people. And I realized that the people that are attracted, that not attracted to me, but who can have a temperament and deal with me more, right, are the people who want to lead and serve like me. So I'm like, I need to get those people. And in return, if I can teach those people what I learned, right, they can go out and help me reach the masses. So just understanding that is when I knew, like, okay, this is how I can build a team, right? I build leaders, they build teams, right? And then I can teach their teams, but they can be the managing people over their own flocks, if that makes sense.
It makes a ton of sense. I got to add context for everybody who's just tuning in. Think about this. This woman has bought over $1 million in real estate through cash, using her own cash, not borrowing money from OPM. In fact, before this call and in previous calls she and I have had, she's like, I really want to learn how to buy property with other people's money because I've always just used my own money. I just bought $1 million of property in a single day. And I think for anybody who's listening right now, if you want to learn how to access cash flow at that degree, like where you actually have more money than you know what to do with, to the point where you actually need to go buy real estate and actually start using some of these, she likes to call them tax sheltering strategies, like cost
Yes.
segregation or depreciation. She had to go and start buying some property herself. Now, Mashi, as we get later on, I'm going to ask you exactly what is that cash flow machine? How do people get access to it? Like, but before I do,
Okay.
what made you pull the trigger on real estate? Because I know a lot of people have been in my calls, been in my trainings. I've been teaching real estate for 6 years, and a lot of people want to do it. You know, they want to do real estate. I'll air quote that all day because
Yeah.
they don't do it. Right? Michael Shine goes and buys property. Mitch buys property. I buy property. We don't even know how we do it. We just go and we do it. And yet there's a lot, tens of thousands of people who I've trained who do absolutely nothing with the knowledge. What made you different and what made you just pull the trigger? What was your first deal and how do you fall into it? Did somebody else do it for you? Did you get lucky? Did you manifest the property or did you actually do some work to make this thing happen?
Yeah, you wouldn't believe every deal I have found, right? There's something that's called driving for dollars, right? I have found myself, I have handpicked my realtor, I have negotiated, right? Only reason why I needed my realtor because they're licensed and I'm not, right? I'm talking about even if I've gotten points or percentages, paid back from the realtor, right? I just believe you get what you negotiate. So my first deal, it all started with me just wanting to buy my mom a home and me wanting to not have to spend over $100,000 in cash for the property. And I like, let me just start, right? So I actually ended up buying a foreclosed property, right? Because I was like, I'm not buying cash, right? I'm thinking like I'm looking for the people that's hard up, right? You need to, so I'm either gonna buy your note from the bank, right? Or you're gonna let me save your credit. And actually, the first deal, the people didn't want to let me save their credit, so I just did homework and I found out who owned the house. Hey, let's speed this foreclosure up, right? Because I got the money and I'm ready to close now. So it's kind of like I end up working, finding out who the bank and the realtor is, and we kind of like forced a foreclosure deal, right? Because the people were, already the bank they've been owed on it, right? So we just needed the paperwork so we can buy from the bank because we tried to buy from the owner, right? And we tried to save them. They didn't want to do it that way. So we saved money and we went directly to, the bank, and we were able to, basically take the note and force foreclosure, right? And so that was how I got my first property with my mom, and I went through a rehab, a totally expensive rehab, and I learned then I'm like, okay, wait, I did not know rehabbing can be this expensive, and I spent a lot of money on unqualified and unlicensed contractors, so I couldn't even do anything when they ran out with my money. So I'm just like, oh my God, I didn't pay all this money for this house. It's just a nice B class property, right? So that was like my first deal that I learned. So the next time I went and actually bought property from the actual tax sale, right? And I was like, let me try this. And that was okay, but sometimes you don't get those, and you look at that property where your deed is not free and clear. I got a parcel of land that's free and clear, and another parcel, and it's all one property. Like it wasn't. So I'm learning still. And this is trial and error, right? And after that, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna buy properties as clean properties, right? So I just started buying a whole lot of A class properties, and from there, I just make sure that I'm buying in equity. I'm trying to make sure that, hey, the owner, I try to do some, research on the owner. I want people that want to sell fast because they have to move or they can't really afford the payment anymore. So I look for those type of A class properties because those people, a lot of times have equity in their home, and a lot of times you can get that property for tens of thousands or lower, especially when you're talking cash. When you tell somebody, hey, I got the money. We can get this deal closed tomorrow if your people talking, right? Or you can fire your realtor. My realtor do all the paperwork. I got my lawyer right here. So these people like, hey, 30 days, I'll take $30,000 off the price. And so now I'm buying into more equity, and I know that, I got a good deal. So when I do have to sell, I can sell and, make some profit, even, with my improvements. But again, I knew that real estate could help me do things like that just from sitting around people who had more knowledge than me. I didn't have a lot of people around my family. Well, I didn't have nobody, but my daddy owned his home, but I didn't have anybody that was like a true real estate investor. But I knew that everybody that I have ever heard of having wealth, they had real estate. So when I got my millions, I immediately dumped like over $4 million in real estate, which I'm happy because that was also helped me to save millions in taxes, because I was able to, depreciate expense from capital expenses, and also, do my cost segregation. So it was just a lot. So I knew that. I didn't know a lot, but I knew real estate was the key to wealth and tax savings. And I figured how as the process, as I went along.
This is
So.
this is a really cool angle. So I'm going to divert to Mike for a second. There's one thing you said that Mitch Jorsky I know resonates with, because he's said the reason I'm in real estate is I want to buy my house with mom. Buy my mom a house paid off. I want it paid off in cash. So Mitch needs to take your course on how to buy
I
houses in
mean,
cash for his mom. Like
my house
you did
probably
it.
needs a
You just
mom
did it.
too.
What is it?
I
I
said my
did
house probably
twice.
needs a
The
mom.
first, yeah. So the first one, yeah, it does. You're right. The first one,
I'm all alone here.
it's too little. I had to go buy her another one, so I ended up buying her Victoria Mansion. So,
Yeah.
So you got to
and
do
now,
it twice. That's
and
the
now one
secret.
side of the house not even occupied. It's too
And
big.
then you said something I say all the time. The first one's the worst one, right? So like I gotta send this off to Mike, but I'm queuing up a question of like, how did you even get past the first one? If the first one was such a terrible nightmare, like how did you even get past it? But before I do that, Mike is, I know he came into real estate a totally different way, but because he's an attorney, right? He's closing all these loans, he's closing all
Mm-hmm.
these transactions. So he's so used to a lender being on a deal. Mike, how rare is it that somebody actually pays in cash? I know all my offers are submitted cash, 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 but then later on I'm like, oh, by the way, here's my lender writing the check for this deal. How often would you say it is like people actually buy in cash?
Well, because I'm friends with you and because I've been with the Alchemist Nation for like 8 years now, my business actually shifted to cash buyers because before, and a lot of the title attorneys around me are representing first-time home buyers who use a standard mortgage, they get an FHA or they get whatever they want, but most of my people are like investors, and so I would say we do at least five a month that are cash deals. Um, Sometimes they refinance after with some sorts of financing, but yeah, I think I'm unusual in that way. I focused on the investors, and they pick up stuff for cash a lot more than a normal buyer would.
That's
Yeah.
that gives me a good answer because I know you close 20 to 40 transactions in a month, and yeah, I know you've had months over 60. So if we're talking about five, that's like 25 to 10, 15% of your transactions are actually cash transactions. But if we
Yeah.
say your audience is mostly investors, that makes sense, right? Macy's an investor, so she dove in that. I
Yeah.
love, by the way, that you're using cash as a way to get a better price, right? Cash to get access to equity that they were totally going to charge you this, and then you just got more equity. You just scored more equity by saying, now I'll close faster. So
Yeah.
speed has been one of your strategies as an investor who's actually looking for tax advantages. Mitch, real quick, why haven't you bought your mom a house yet? If Macy's just slapping cash down to buy houses for mom,
Right.
paid off, I'm just
That's a
thinking
Honestly,
maybe we
that's the
got good
exact
uses
reason.
up here.
Like
Great question, Walter. Great question.
the exact reason is that well, I shouldn't say I don't have it because I could have basically divested Bitcoin, but there's no way I'm doing that because duh. Um, but yeah, it's because really not having the lump sum. Well, also Northeast doesn't help because it's like, all right, sweet, you need, at least 500,000 cash. And that's the problem. Like I know that because I tried to do it a decade ago where I was going to buy a property with a loan and like mom and stepdad weren't having it. So I was like, all right, I see how this works. I'm just gonna have to buy something in cash where they don't have a choice. Like here's the keys. It's paid for. Live in it or don't, but it's there. So
Right.
Yeah.
that is why. So it's build that lump sum of cash to and we also know I'm a yield junkie. So like for me to just park a ton of money in something and not earn yield on it, like it just like scratches at me. And there's only one or two occasions where I would do that, and one of them would be to buy my mom a house. But like otherwise, like you guys know me, it's like if my money's not making money, like I'm perpetually broke, right? Because I'm never liquid. Because if my money's not making money, it's like, what is it doing? It's just sitting there
Yeah.
eroding to inflation. So
Yeah.
there's my
When I
long answer.
when I sat down with Macy, I talked about ROE. She's like, "Oh my God, show me that spreadsheet." And then we put all our properties in there. Not all of them, but we put a chunk in there. And her mom's house was in it. And I was like, "Oh, I don't like this one at all. It's not making any money." She's like, "That's my mom's house. We're not selling mom's house. That's off the table." I was like, "Yeah, but it makes no money. Is mom paying?" It was just such a funny conversation because Mitch, you can
Yeah.
have a paid off house for mom, or you can have your yield. Macy, I got to ask, why'd you do the next deal? Right? Like, I mean, the first deal was so bad. It was such a miserable experience. And I say this to a lot of investors, man, your first deal has to be good. You just like make it an easy one, make it a good one, because so many people, if they don't have a great first deal, they end up getting out of the business and then they miss out on
Yeah.
all the chances to have great income, tax strategies, wealth, legacy,
Yeah.
all this stuff. How did you keep pushing through, and why do you still believe in real estate after all that pain?
Well, because you know how you say most people have a problem with starting. My problem is I have a problem with quitting. Okay, so no way I'm gonna start something right and stop it not on top. And I don't believe in starting something and not perfecting it. So, like, still to this day, like, I'm so intrigued because there's so much more that I'm constantly learning every week about real estate and how it complements my my tax business and my financial education services. So like I can't stop. Like I can't stop diving in. Like I'm just, I want more. You like I want to build boutique hotels. I want to gosh, I got what you are because you'll know like how big I want to go. Like I want to have apartment buildings. Like I want to own the condos that I'm living in Atlanta, right? Like I
This
want
is
to do
wild
some
because
divisions.
it's
So
something you said
like
just now. You said I'm built different, right? I'm built different. You think differently. And then
yeah,
earlier, right at the beginning of this answer, there's a statement we have kind of within a tight tribe within my management team, and they say it's too
yeah,
late for me. Right? They're like, dude, you could have an easy life where you go work a 9 to 5 job and you go and you do that and you put money in the stock market. Maybe you just like survive, you retire at 65, 75, and then like hopefully you survive. And that's like a good life. You can have that. Your wife will be proud of you for working, and you'll be the working man the rest of your life. He said, like, I got into this business and I am committed to mastering it, and it's too late for me. Like now I have to. And I've just got to get to the goals I set. And I tell everybody, like, I made a spreadsheet that shows 10,000 units, $5 billion worth of real estate. I saw that it was possible. And now it's like, I don't have a choice. I got to go see if it's actually possible.
yeah,
And every year I double my net worth, double my income. I'm like, it still works. I'll just keep doing this again. And it's that mentality that you have. You're built different. You have, like, most people have a hard time starting. You have a hard time stopping.
right.
Where did that come from? Right. Oh, and I got another one, the location that you're investing in. This is a good market. Right? You're in one of my markets. You're one of the markets I tell people this is a good area to invest because the prices are right, the cash flow makes sense, but they're
Hmm.
afraid of the market that you invest in. So yeah, let's go into that. Why? Why Monroe? Why Louisiana? Like, how did you get in started there? Like, what was the beginning?
Well, I always believe in taking care of home first. And Monroe, Louisiana is my home, no matter what. So I could not consciously, with a good heart, sound mind, go out into other people communities that I've never seen before, never ventured into, right? That has not truly contributed to my foundation of who I am as a being. and pour into them, and not at least give my hometown an opportunity to grow with me, to use me as a beacon of light, right? As a beacon of hope for them. So I made sure that when I had more than enough to go around, I went back home and I planted seeds and I watered seeds in hopes that they will grow into beautiful trees, because I know I'm too big for the city. Now, I'm a small town, but I had bigger dreams, right? But it was a duty, and I feel like obligation of mine to come back and remind people of the beauty out of the hood, right? The possibilities outside of the city. You know, what can actually be done, because I didn't have anyone looking around me in my environment, right? That I can look up to. But when I got outside of what I was born in, and you know, I was able to see more opportunity and see how real it was. I was able to, like the people say, like touch those people, actually witness those people outside of the TV and see, oh my gosh, this is real life possible. Like people are real life millionaires in real life. Like this is not just TV. Then I'm like, oh my God, a real billionaire in real life. Like this is real, right? So I need to show my people that this is true. And some of that, you know, I had to show them, hey, this property, I own this little black teenage girl raised up in the hood, you know, dysfunctional family, blah 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 blah, rats and roaches. We can do it. But you got to win. Your mind got to be stronger than what, you know, the matter, right? So it starts with that, and I just wanted people to know that. And I have to just remind them also, it's taxes on success.
Yeah.
It's taxes on success, and you got to be willing to pay them. And when you make it, you have to be willing to also requalify year after year.
So I got
Yeah.
a few questions for you.
Yeah, she just lit a
So
whole
first of
bunch
all,
up. I'm like, I want to build rapport with her immediately.
let me
'cause
just,
I'm from the
let me
hood.
just-
But go ahead, Mike.
Oh, yeah, let's take over a little bit because I feel like, you know, we're all here. So what town are you actually in, first of all?
I'm in Houston, Texas now. I'm from Monroe, Louisiana.
Okay, and the town that you're talking about helping people up, that was in Louisiana?
Monroe. Yep, Monroe, Louisiana.
Monroe,
Okay.
Louisiana.
And so you said your first house was like 100,000 cash?
Well, actually, it was cheaper than that. It was like 40 something thousand cash, but after me putting money in, I end up spending over 100K in it because I went through several janky contractors, right? Not knowing the didn't even know about the need of the GC license, not knowing the licensing requirements, you know, for electricians, roofers, you know, not knowing the insurance, right?
Sure,
Just,
sure.
you know, asking, hey, neighborhood friends, need a job?
And so when you were talking to Walter a second ago, you mentioned that you saw that a lot of the millionaires had real estate. So I'm just curious, where did you get that from? Like, was it a specific book you read, or was it your mentor that you had, or did you pick up your mentor later in life? So yeah,
No, it's from being around people who had more than me, right? So
yeah,
as my education, right, when I went to school, it allowed me to start working along other hospital executive doctors, you know, even their legal department, the CEOs, right, the CFO, the CRO, because now I'm the, you know, director of therapy, you know, for my division. Okay, so now I'm sitting up there with other directors, people who have years ahead of me, right? People who
yeah,
are looking to say, hey, you know, I need to do some of my retirement money, right? I need to do this, or I know somebody who did this, and I start going to and I got my life insurance license in 2015, right? And I was with Primerica, and at that time, Primerica is like the number one, you know, MLM, you know.
yeah,
So I'm in there, and I'm not I came in with my whatever they're the highest vice president you can have, right? I came in because that's who recruited me directly. So I'm with them. They're owning real estate, right?
nice.
And I get to go into more, you know, around other high net worth people, and they own real estate, right? But they're also entrepreneurs as well. And that's when I learned that no matter how hard I work, no matter how many degrees I get, right, I can only work with the time I'm allotted. But if I
Right.
build a team, if I build a team, you know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
can determine if I want a 10x, 20x, or 100x, or quantum leap X, right? Million X, right? My current revenue. And I can put a formula behind that, and I can build my team based on that formula.
Oh, yeah. And I just wanted to go back. So where did you get the money from, the cash for that first house for your mom? Like, did you save up
Taxes.
or what?
Taxes. I didn't have to save. What I had to do was set a goal. So that year, I was like, you know what?
Mitch, are you listening to this
I
one?
need
Because this is like
to.
she's about to break down the strategy of how she bought a house
Yeah.
in cash. I
Yeah,
want
I'm
to make sure you're
about
hearing
to.
this. She didn't have to
I was
save. She
going
just
through a
set a
divorce.
goal.
That's what I'm
I
doing
haven't
now.
saved. Hey, I just don't believe you can save your way to wealth. I just don't believe it. I
Nope.
just don't believe it. You
No,
can invest your way.
none of us
Yeah,
do. None of us do.
yeah. You
We're
can
all,
take
Hey,
calculated. You take calculated risk and you invest, right?
Mm.
So I took a so I took a risk, right? I'm going through my divorce, right? And I'm also lost my father, and I'm like, you know what? Um, that's why I bought the house so cheap then, because I only had like 100K cash, right? And I had to
Only.
pay my bills, and I'm going through
Where
my
does
divorce,
100K come
right?
from? Hold on.
how
Because
old were you at this point?
I was already doing taxes already, right? But I'm like, I can't take
Yeah.
all of my cash flow, right, from my tax company, that I'm just doing
Mm.
myself. So now I'm like, I have to, like I said, 10x this, right? Because this property I thought that was good is not good enough for my mom, and I didn't know it was going to cost this much. So now I know that, hey, 100K ain't good. I need
Yeah.
millions, right? So that means I had to go and get some strong leaders who I felt was leaders. I'm like, hey, follow my lead. Each one of y'all bring me this amount of people, right? This is your area. This is how much the people are charging your area for these type of returns. Go and get your people. Mason, nobody's going to trust me. Your people will. Go get
How
them.
how
And I'm
old
going to show you. You
how
see this amount.
Macy, how old were you at that point?
How old was I in 2020? What's that? 5 years ago?
Yeah.
32.
Okay.
32. I'm 37
Okay.
now.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you.
37, and you got a daughter too, right? You're went through a
Yes. My
divorce. You got a
daughter's
daughter.
she's
I love it
19,
because I know a
University of
lot of
Houston.
people, and I'm gonna get in trouble for this
19.
statement.
Holy shit. Wow.
She's 19 years old. So I see Macy sometimes in videos with her daughter, and I'm like, wait, they look like sisters. They look like they're the
Yeah.
same age. But
18
I want to hear
years.
this. I want to say this because one, it's important for me to say. Probably shouldn't be me saying it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Macy is a single mother, investing in real estate, running multiple businesses. She's not a white bald male, and she's literally crushing it to a degree that I would say, let's at least say 88% of white men in this country are not getting to. For certain, because I know those stats for sure. And
Yeah.
and yet you have a daughter you've raised. You went through a divorce, which most people are like, oh my God, divorce, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
And you still found the success. So going back to, I just want to make sure people know the level that you're operating
Yes.
at, and then so you built a team. You
So
decided more income, more
Walter,
team. Okay.
Before you leave that, I just want to know if your daughter is involved in your business now at her age.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
you all wouldn't believe I was just talking to her before I got on the phone call, because we have to go on a call with the chief revenue officer later tonight, right? Her and her basically COO, right? So she's the COO of the company, and she's also the CEO of her tax company called Junior Tax Academy. So she has a
Nice.
Junior Tax Academy, and she just put out a post less than 24 hours ago, right? And she already have around 10 solid leads that she's going to be signing up to start her own tax division, right? So she can do her own income. If you don't know, my daughter she files taxes on her own because her income is so high.
Nice.
From her money, she was able to go to Chase in December, buy her own self a Porsche and sign for it herself.
Oh, wow.
So
Amazing.
so
Amazing.
she is set up. Yes, I haven't had to give her any money in the last 3 years because she earned enough money on her own. Okay. And
She
she's
gets
part of the
points for
company
using
pension plan.
Chase. Anybody who uses Chase gets points for me. That's a quick play.
Yes, we are private well clients of Chase. We love Chase.
They treat you different. They just treat you different.
They do. They understand. You know, they're not made for everybody, but they're made for people like us, Walter. I'm telling you. So,
Awesome.
yeah, they have a great entrepreneur program as well, though. They help entrepreneurs with lines of credit and everything. So, y'all should get with Chase, right? And tell them I sent you. Matter of fact, just send me send a referral, right? But yes, she is, and you can go to her website. She got a website, juniorstts.com, and you will see her promote her funnel on there. You click it, she sets up the calls with the chief revenue officer. They go over the program types, and you get signed up. And the good thing about it
This
is
is a proud mom right here. Mashi, I want you to know how hard what you've done is. Like it's so, and I'm not putting this, Mike, I promise I'm not manifesting this, I'm not putting this out in the world. I'll crush it with my kid. I got a long way to practice and ask people how they did it. But I know more millionaires
Kids.
who more millionaires, right? Kids, that's right. There's another one on the way. So there's more millionaires in my network whose kids do not want anything to do with how they built their business or real estate. And it's insane how many people they're like, oh dude, I wish my kids wanted to do it, but they saw how hard I was working and how hard I was grinding, and they want nothing to do with it. And it's literally one of the biggest concerns that millionaires build. Like they're building all this and it's like, man, my kids want nothing to do with this. What do I do with it? What was it that you think you might have done differently that got your kids actually interested in this business with you? And eventually in real estate, I'll get her. I'll get her.
I talked to her openly, you know what I'm saying, from the beginning, right? And I will always let her know exactly where her lifestyle is coming from. And she understood that, hey, when mommy's gone, I didn't just say mommy's going to work, right? Oh, mommy have a client that is showing this benefit to us, right? This person has this type of influence, or this person has this resource, or this person has this skill, and mommy's going to go learn this, and this is how it's going to help with our business, right? Did she always understand what I was talking about? No, but she was able to respect and under my time more, right? And and what I'm doing. And she also was able to I feel like also respect and understand what the company was bringing to her and the lifestyle it awarded her, right? And I will always say, hey, what does she want to do? Gymnastics, because there's never been a time she couldn't do anything she wanted to do, right? Or she wanted for anything. So when she would get these things, even from a young age, I let her know, okay, you got this because God blessed mommy with this opportunity that allowed me to reward you with these type of things, right? And this is what happens when you be obedient to your purpose. So I'm talking about at 5. People used to be calling me crazy because my daughter knew how to count and identify money before she knew how to read. Right. But I started off young, preparing my child to be able to live without me. Right. So by the time my daughter was in, like, I want to say first, second grade, right, she could go to Walmart.com and order everything, and she could pay for it if the cart was on file. Right. And then after that, right, I taught her things like that. So it was those type of real life skills that I taught her in every type of lesson, along with, her regular school learning. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not one of those parents that, also made her go to school every day, right? I rewarded her off of her mental, right, her mindset, right? And still to this day, this is my daughter, right? She got 3 letters from the National Society of Collegiate Honors, University of Houston Honor Society, another American, the National Society of Collegiate Scholars, right? So that's like, she gets still to this day those accolades, and she doesn't have to presently show up because I taught her how to value her time and put a value to that, right? Even how kids would say like something she's not obligated to do, like how your uncle might say, hey, give me a massage. I will happily service you, right? But I need this, right? So I would tell her, you're asking me for money, but hey, you can start earning money by charging people for chores, right? Things that grown people don't want to do. Hey, your uncle cleans his shoes all the time. Ask him how much will he be willing to pay. As a matter of fact, you know that you need this money. Mom give you this amount of money for allowance, right? And you want $5 more to go spend because sometimes you like to show, hey, I'm big money Taylor at the school, right? You want extra money to buy your friends something. I'm not supplying your friends, but hey, I don't have a problem with that, right? It's good for your ego, right? So, but you earn this extra money, go ask your uncle to clean his shoes, right? Or do something that you're not obligated to do that we don't want to do, so you can understand that how you can earn money. Okay, so when you have a skill that somebody need, whether they want to do it or not, and you can supply, you can charge them for that. So just teaching her that, like, she starts saying people asking her for her snacks. Well, how about this? You buy extra snacks and you sell them at school. Now you have money.
I was banned from bringing the snacks. Like, if my mom was an entrepreneur, man, she would have been like, "Yo, you see, you saying they got money? They got money in school? Here we go. Here's a play."
And she was selling snacks, and she understood, like, hey, I had her like, this is how much your Kool-Aid jammers cost. So I don't care about how much money you spend. You better have enough to re-up. She knew what re-up was.
So you've been
Nice
Just being
job.
honest.
you've been doing a lot of speaking, right? So how did the speaking start? I mean, you certainly know quite a bit in the tax realm. Like, you said you have 2 degrees. You started out in the healthcare industry. How did you make a
Yes.
shift from the hospital to the tax world? There, I don't know about anybody else, but that's not a natural progression. I went from the tax world I went from accounting to I worked for Johnson and Johnson for like 2 years, and the whole time I was there, I was working with the sales teams and doing like surgeries and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, dude, you should go down and like
Yeah.
do a surgery." And I was like, the moment they asked me, I resigned. I was like, I'm going to work in another department that's more analytical. I want to stay away from the human bodies. So
Yeah.
I think it takes a lot to go into healthcare. But then I think the person who goes into healthcare is completely different from the person who goes into taxes. So where is that transformation?
Wow. I feel like I always really liked the numbers side first because I started off in banking, working for Chase, Bank of America, Wood Forest. Just learning different things about the loans and how the banking system worked. And then I pivoted to but I didn't like math in school. That's crazy, right?
No, me neither. I hated it in school. Yeah.
So when I got to the school, I was like, I need to do something that allows me to help people holistically. And we can always do financial education, I thought, right? And so that's when I got into that because I was just looking at how OT and PT was so limited with helping my mom. My mom is permanently disabled. And I was just like, gosh, right? But she still deserves a quality of life. So I went into therapeutic recreation, and that is just a mixture of OT, PT, kinesiotherapy, and also mental health, right? So it does everything. It's a therapy that allows you to treat your clients through different modalities and through every I want to say, I guess, aspect of life, holistically, right? So I was able to use so many different techniques. But in that, right, like I said, that does take a lot of time and a lot from you because I am an imp and I started, sometimes, my patients would get so connected and I would get connected to my patients as well. And so as I started losing patients sometimes, because, it's just if you work on a geriatric unit or, I start working at the VA hospital and some of my patients just didn't make it from their physical injuries, right? And I'm like, oh, this taking a lot on me. So that's when I went to private practice, and I said, also, I'm like, okay, I'm making 6 figures, but I got to see all these clients, I got to do all these notes, and I remember speaking to people about how important it is to get their credit done, right, and understand credit repair. So I was teaching credit repair for free so people can go out and get, at least startup loans, look 20 or 50K to help start their business, right? And I was teaching from my own experience, and I met who is now my ex-husband. He was like, hey, you should do taxes. I was like, I do taxes, right? Because I was doing them illegal. I was just helping people out on TurboTax, right? He was like, no, you're supposed to be legal. I'm like, huh? So I was going to IRS.gov. I said, ooh, something like, how many other people be doing this, right? So I started saying, I need to educate people, right? So it started right then and there in 2017. Is when I started like getting back into like financial education. And I did it the first year and I like probably made a little over 50, some between 50 and $70,000. And I was like, this is cool, and I did that for the first 2 years. And again, like I told you, like you asked me how I had that cash flow to sit with my mom through my divorce. That was because I had, extra money coming in, and I was already making 6 figures in my healthcare business. But after, it wasn't until I started making, the millions, when I just went full fledged and start building other business owners and not other just preparers, right? Because I was like, I'm going to teach a lot of more people, and I don't want to just work with the prepare people mentality that want to make 50,000. I want to work with the people who want to make 500K or more, right? Who want to build team and lead, and that's how I got into it. On top of it,
That's a big
you
jump,
you didn't need
man.
a
That's
degree. Yeah, you didn't need a degree because people were asking me, "Mashi, help me, help me, help me, help me." I'm like, I can't. You're not a doctor. You're not a social worker. You're not a therapist. What can I do for you? You need a degree to come work for me in my therapy business. But the people didn't need that in taxes. They just needed a commitment, and they just needed the IRS to say, "Hey, you're qualified." And so they opened up the pool of people that I can help and inspire like a lot. So I'm here.
It's a big difference. That's wild.
Nice.
It comes from the heart. You mentioned growing up in
Yeah.
the hood, wanted to go back and contribute. I did the same thing in Fall River. I went back. I invested in that city, and then when the prices went through the roof, I was like, these guys don't need me anymore. All the other investors are coming into town. Everybody's making money. The roofs are all popping off and getting
Yeah.
fixed. Like,
And it
I
really
left.
is like if people like when I got there, like people having to step up because like a lot of people that said it was doing stuff, the light guy, I came in with this light, so it shined the light on all the darkness. Like y'all not really building the communities, y'all not really supporting the people like y'all say y'all supporting the people, right? If y'all got all this money, then where's it at, right? Nobody sponsoring the schools, nobody doing scholarships, right? Nobody doing back to school drives, like that. Nobody was feeding the homeless. Nobody was employing people. The biggest thing is this: everybody was talking about how they had money, but nobody was putting money in anyone else's pocket, right? I came to the city and I made people millionaires, right? Millionaires. I have successfully helped over 16 people become multi-millionaires, and we're not even going to count how many six-figure earners people have made and five figures people have made in 90 days been up under my program. And you can just imagine how that shook a town of what 40 some thousand people to have that many millionaires, first generation millionaires. The talent was booming. You know what I'm saying? And it's still booming right now. And I know that gave people a lot of leverage and a jump and a momentum they need to get out there. Like now, I be looking sometimes on Facebook, they're doing seminars now, they're hosting events now. Oh my gosh, people training now, people are doing lives and podcasts now. I love it. I love it.
Girl, I'm with you.
But I
This is
just
why we get
remind
along,
them,
right?
pay the cost. This taxes on success now.
I love this because I built 39 millionaires. I just found out one of our community members, 1.4 million net worth, and it's like, man,
Yes.
like it's work, right? It's work to inspire, it's work to educate, it's work to train, but it is possible, and people do eventually come around. Not everybody, but the handful. When you start targeting for accredited investors,
Yeah.
multimillionaires out there, what piece of advice would you have for them if because I'm gonna wrap this up real quick, unless Mitch or Mike has something they want to ask. The way I like to end this show is, if you go back, right, to 20-year-old version of you, or let's just say the investor who's hit that first million and they're looking to talk to their children and give that piece of advice, or like, what are the three pieces of advice you'd give to somebody who's either starting, has been in it for a little while, but they really want to get to where you are today, faster, healthier, and wealthier, just better relationships? What three pieces of advice would you give somebody if, let's say, they were 20 years old, just starting out, to do it the right way, or that you'd give your daughter so she gets where you are faster?
Mm-hmm. Um, Surround yourself with as many people who you aspire to be like. In other words, make sure that you're hanging around people who coattail is longer than yours. Um, and make that your core group, right? Um, be committed. Be committed to the success you desire, and hold what you got until you know what you got. Don't be wasteful. It's okay to hold what you got till you truly understand exactly what you got, because um It's just as important to take, I tell people, take your time because we're in a hurry. And I think a general said that one time, take your time because we're in a hurry. And that's the important piece of learning how to hold what you got until you know what you got, because you may make a costly mistake and you may not have that grit and and like you said, that just get up and go about yourself that Macy has, and that appetite to and that hunger to put you back in the game. These some losses can take you out. They can take you out and they can wipe you out, right? And losses are devastating. I've lost tens of millions, and losses are devastating, and I don't wish it on anyone, right? So please, you know what I'm saying? Value relationships and build a network of people that is going to elevate your net worth.
Ooh, it's fire. It's
Oh,
true. I love hold what you got till you know what you got. That's the first time I've ever heard it, and that's a rhyme I'm gonna stick with.
good
So
tagline.
it's a
And
good
and all
tagline.
three of those, I mean, the beauty about all three of those is like every single one of them touches on basically popular mantras you hear amongst successful people. So like, the one, you are the average of the five people you spend the most time with, right? That touches
Yeah.
on the first one she's talking about. Pay mind to, who you're spending your time with. And the same thing with, kind of understanding what you have, right? Because if you get a little too crazy when you have that early success, you can then have that, what is it always that I touch on with Tim Ferriss, that irrevocable harm, like where you basically take yourself out of the game. Like we're all going to take an L event, like here and there, it happens as part of business, but
Yeah.
don't take the loss that takes you off the field completely, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big piece
Yeah.
of it. Like with that, at least that's what I got from the kind of, that know what you got thing.
I
So
love how
yeah.
Mitch jumped at the loss, right? The scaredy cat guide to real estate investing. He's got a very conservative
Hey,
approach to things.
listen,
Mike,
I always build a
what
good
would you?
defense.
I liked what you said about manifesting, right? Like focus on what you want and go after it. Like just be gritty enough to get there. Like that stick to
Yeah.
itiveness, no matter what comes your way. Like you got to be that attracted to it. Uh, this has been one of the more fun podcasts, probably because your nature is just fun, right? You're smiling, you're having fun with
Yeah.
us.
I mean, like
Yeah.
that energy is
Perfect.
crazy. Like, and that's like you can tell that's her normal energy. And like me, I would need like two Red Bulls before this to be that amped.
And the
Like
thing about
that's
it, y'all,
impressive.
I wake up like this. People be like, how do you wake up with so much energy? I'm like, it's because I woke up.
That's awesome.
We awake. So Mike Shine has that energy when we talk about Tesla. So if we had a topic where if we just put podcasts about Tesla and batteries and robots and AI and the moon, like it'd be we'd see Mike be like, well, guys, did you know that there's a new battery station being built right now?
Yeah,
There's
that's
another
right.
one coming
I
in.
used to own a Tesla Model X supercharged. I traded it in because I had too many cars, and when I bought my homestead here in Texas, so I miss it. I miss my like I called it my grown folks go kart. I miss it. It would drive me everywhere, literally,
So
and that's why I could
Awesome.
trust myself texting on it.
It's
So
awesome.
anybody who had a good time, we're going to see Mashi at the summit. We've got 60 of our credit investors already registered. We got 30, 40 more coming in, registering every day. So Mashi, what is a good, easy way for somebody to get in touch with you if they want to learn more about you before we get to the summit in Orlando, October 23rd to the 27th? What is the easiest way to get in touch with you?
The easiest way to get in touch with me, I would say definitely my social media. Follow me and turn my notifications on. That way you can know where I'm going to be at, how I'm going to be showing up, and you can just keep tracking me. And that is this page, Mashi Epting, Mashiepting. The great thing about me, I'm visible, right? So you can literally Google me and find out my social medias. Y'all just put my first name and last name in and you can find me. My website is whoismashi.com. My booking link is on there. All my events is on there available. But like I say, follow me on social media. I'm always bringing good energy. Yeah, that's what you need. Good energy.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen, you know the point is not
Amen.
to work, it's to generate income. Mike, how much income do we want?
Massive income from passive income.
Mitch,
Yeah.
how do we do it?
We organize and we collect.
You know, I just want to finish with that because massive income from passive income, I've been saying that for 8 years. And you know how you just manifest stuff. So that's what's happened. So it's like you take your tagline and you keep saying it over and over again at every podcast or every time anybody asks you, and it just happens. So
Love that.
I love that. Yep.
Me
Cool.
too. Let's
Ladies and
inspire
gentlemen,
to be expert. Woo!
go follow Mashi Epting. She's going to be on stage with us at the summit this year. Follow Michael Shine. He'll be on stage with us at the summit this year. Follow Mitch Jorsky. He'll be on stage with us at the summit this year.
Yeah.
Cheers to your success. When you have a choice, always work with the best. We'll see you on the next one.
Peace.